Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the show where driven entrepreneurs share the real stories, the real honest struggles, and the hard-won secrets behind performing at their best. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, a personal performance strategist and the founder of TAPS Coaching, where I partner with entrepreneurs to turn real effort into real momentum. Every week, I sit down with an owner-operator who's building something of their own, and we get past the highlight reel to find out what's actually working. Because the truth is, most people don't need more. They need to pay attention to what works for them and do more of that. So whatever you're building, let's stop spinning and start winning. We'll jump into the show right after this. If you're an entrepreneur or owner-operator who's working hard but feeling stuck spinning your wheels instead of building real momentum, I'd love to help. I want to invite you to a free strategy session with one of our performance strategists. We'll help you see what's actually working, what's holding you back, and the clearest next step to get your momentum going again. To claim your free strategy session, head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. We'd love to talk to you. And now back to the episode. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today, we've got a special guest because we've got another returning guest all the way from back in April 10th of 2024 is when the first episode dropped. So quite a while ago. So I'm super excited because we're bringing back Ohan Kayikchyan. Did I say that correct?
You did it perfectly.
All right, perfectly close enough. I love that. But in case you hadn't heard the first one, we dove into how he was Ohan the money doctor, and he's the founder of Aloha Financial. And he's a certified financial planner with nearly 2 decades of experience in the finance industry. Ohan's journey is pretty unique. He came to the United States from a post-Soviet country, started his career working in banking as a teller, and slowly worked his way through every layer of the financial system, becoming a private banker, earning his CFP designation, and eventually launching his own firm. But what makes Ohan's approach different is that he doesn't just focus on optimizing the numbers. His philosophy is that money is simply a tool. And financial planning should help people live the life that they actually want, not just to sit back, accumulate wealth, and wait for retirement. In today's conversation, we're going to talk things such as the psychology of money, why waiting until retirement can be a mistake, and how financial planning should help people experience life sooner rather than later. So Ohan, man, welcome back, dude. I'm excited to dive in with you.
Rob, I'm so happy we are back, and I'm so happy always talking to you. This will be a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited. And in the first time we kind of connected, we lightly went over kind of your story, and we talked about how you didn't grow up in the United States. And I want to just kind of dive in there just as a little refresher. But what was your life or your early life like? And what was it that really brought you here to the States?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I did my education back home, I already started working. Over there, I was actually a loan officer. And then after that, I had a career in mortgage underwriting as well as a mortgage underwriter and bank advisor. So I already got involved with finance at that stage. But English nowhere, of course, near like the way that I communicate right now. And I always wanted to learn English. And I remember like for some people, it is, I wish I can understand news, English news. In my case, it was, I hope one day I can understand English songs, because I was listening, but there is no way I was able to understand like what are the lyrics, which can be poetry in case of, let's say, rap music or hip hop and all that. So I wanted to learn English. And then I got an opportunity to come to United States through a program that the Department of State was conducting until recently called Diversity Visa Lottery, literally lottery, they call it. So you apply and I got picked, I got chosen, I got my green card, came to United States legally, which was at that moment, I didn't realize like how hard it is to get residency or citizenship in United States, because my goal was to come in English speaking country that I can put myself in that uncomfortable situation of having hard time communicating and just learn English. That will be the best way, because when you are surrounded by foreigners who speak certain language you don't understand, you don't have any option but just to learn, which is similar to finance, to be quite honest with you, because as soon as I arrived to United States, again, having a financial background, I right away start applying for bank positions, and I applied for teller position. I was overqualified because of, as I mentioned, my previous experience, but then I was applying for banker position and my English was not enough.
Mm.
Finally, it happened that, you can be in some type of a corner, but you always keep the hope that you just turn around and turn left or right or back, and there is a door that you can come out. So finally, I found that door. I came out of that situation and found a job as a teller, as a cashier. And I remember at the beginning when I was over the phone trying to help clients or talk to our back office and bring an issue or something, I understood the context, but many things I couldn't understand. And until now, I remember we had a senior banker, Italian, nice lady who been in the bank at that time, probably long enough already. I remember she mentioned to me, do your best to be in this environment at least for 4 to 6 months, and you will see what will happen with your language. And of course, she was right. I started picking up the English, but of course it comes with the different stages. So I'm still learning English every day, doing my best to communicate as clear as I can, because it helps me with my communication with clients.
Yeah, I love that, and I think having that kind of mindset of, just always learning, always growing, always have room to improvement, and, that really came to me when I first started speaking. I went through my very first speaker school, and I was like, "Alright, cool, now I'm ready to start charging $20,000 for a keynote," and then I realized, like, "Oh, there's a lot to this, and it's kinda like art, and you can always get better and better, and there's ways of improvement." But speaking of kind of improving and getting better and evolving, I should say, actually. I know from a conversation you and I had recently, there was a point for you when you realized that financial planning isn't just about the numbers and that there's a huge psychological aspect to it. So I want to ask you, like, what made you realize that the behavior side of money is more important than just the optimization side?
You are a great interviewer, Rob, and these are great questions you are asking. And again, the conversation I will continue with the language. Similar way that you learn any foreign language, finance I consider a language as well. You need to learn. But in order for you to learn, you start with A, B, and C. But at the beginning, remember, my English was not nowhere enough to differentiate two simple words that nowadays I realize that at that time I was using the words want and need interchangeably.
Mm.
And I thought that I'm because that was foreign language when in for me at that time. But when I get into the profession, I realize how different they are and how important it is to differentiate. Although now I'm realizing even people who were born in United States, grow up in English environment, in reality they do confuse want from the need when it comes to finance. Sometimes they will get their wants, but then they confuse like what is need and what is want. And want is something that we have control versus like need. We need the shelter. There is this hierarchy of needs, Maslow's needs. Yes, the
Hmm.
pyramid that at the beginning, we need to have a shelter. We need to have a food. These are needs. But then what type of car you are driving or how big or small house you are living, that's more of like a want. So this differentiating factor. But how I get into financial planning, because I got my securities licenses while I was working in the bank, I wanted still to have some type of a formal education. That is when I went to UCLA for a program called Personal Financial Planner, which was a requirement for certified financial planner designation. So I did that. That was the time I evaluated my diplomas and everything. And when I became a certified financial planner, I like, oh, that's it. I figure out everything. I can go now out and tell everyone what they need to do when it comes to their money. And pretty quick, I realized that I was wrong. People, they were not taking my advice because you are telling them your way of doing something. But when I learned that That's important to learn the A, B, and C, and of course, optimizing your finance, learning all different products and disciplines when it comes to money. That's very important. But to be quite honest with you, either today or maybe maximum tomorrow, in my opinion, AI will do the best way of optimizing everyone's finance. But then I realized that there is human part of financial planning and finance in general, where you mentioned behavioral part, the psychology of money. At 80% by some measures, it's all about behavior and psychology, your beliefs, how you grow up and everything when it comes to managing the finance. Then only 20% are the numbers and the plan itself and optimizing. The largest awakening for me was from the book Seven Stages of Money Maturity, which is a book by George Kinder, who is my mentor. So I did another designation between the CFP and this one that I will mention. I did another one. I became an enrolled agent with IRS, but this is mainly to do some tax strategy for clients as well. But this is again my left brain, this technical guy who has the engineering background, numbers, just to make sure I have the numbers optimized for my clients. That was my previous career. And then when I read the book, Seven Stages of Money Maturity, I got introduced to the world of financial life planning. I became a registered life planner, which happened in beautiful island in Hawaii, place called Hana. That's the place where George Kinder lives part-time. He lives in 3 different places in the world, including Massachusetts and the UK. But I went there, learned this, and that was the eye-opening when I realized that I'm not the hero of the relationship. Because when I learned all this with my experience and everything, again, I was thinking of, I know the answers, I know the solutions. We are trained to find solutions for others. But what was the different in the process of becoming a life planner, that I should listen to my client, what they want to accomplish in their life. And that's pretty much my first meeting when I'm doing. All I do, I just listen and give that space, create that space, which is guilt-free, judgment-free. And especially when couples come to me, in many cases, because I create the environment that I will listen to them and they start talking. Partners, they've been together for quite some time, in many cases for decades. They start learning about each other right in front of me because they never got a chance to be in the space that someone will truly listen to them without judgment. We have a saying in this process that let your thoughts go, let your feelings be. And what it means by, at least what I understand, that don't make your thoughts to like, okay, oh, they want to go to Italy. That is one of their goals. By the way, I've been in Italy and this is the experience that I have in Italy. And now I'm steering their conversation somewhere else. I didn't let them to bring everything they want to bring about their dream travel or vacation that they have. So it's very important to listen, because when you listen, people sometimes take out some goals that they just protected deep in their heart because they thought that if I share with someone, first they will, as many humans do, they will judge, or they will just right away, just sake of better word, poo-poo in their dreams, and they never brought it up. Versus here, I'm creating the environment for them to bring up all the yearnings and longings they have in their life.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff too. Creating that space really brings down those gates and then opens opportunities for people to share what they're really trying to get to, and allowing themselves to kind of not only like, so essentially you're creating opportunity for them to do some self exploration. And I feel like a lot of people in today's world are just kind of, they don't really know themselves. So then they don't really know how to plan, or they don't know how to prioritize certain things because they just follow whatever social media tells them to, or whatever is in the mainstream media. They just kind of follow these other things and live this life that they want to. And I think that's you just solely creating a space for them to kind of pull out some of those ideas on really what it is that they want, and what versus what they just need, and then building up from there is really powerful stuff.
Yes, and another thing I would mention for our listeners that I do listen. That's my first meeting. Maybe I should even mention the process. It is an abbreviation, but it's the word EVOKE. EVOKE, and E stands for exploration. That is the meeting when I give them the space. This is more like on surface, but then just letting them to just bring everything that they have inside they want to accomplish in their life. But our next meeting, V, is about vision. And before that meeting, we give client some, we call it inspirational exercise, not to have the homework type of like this. Homework, it is not very motivating word versus inspirational exercise. People get excited. So they do again, like, as I mentioned, my mentor, George Kinder, he's the author popular in financial planning industry, three questions. So I give them these three questions as inspirational work for them to think about. Along with that, we have other questions as well, and they have beautiful names. One of the exercises name is Heart's Core, and over there you are realizing like what you want from your heart. And then we have ideal day, our ideal week, ideal actually like year. You can put like what are your goals for life you can have. So there are different exercises, and I don't want to overwhelm our listeners, and I don't do that to my clients either. I want them to give enough for them, just for them to self reflect, as you mentioned, self realize themselves. And then right away, when we deliver the vision, you know what, Rob, right away, people start thinking about obstacles because they're like, oh, this sounds great. But, and then at that point, I remind them that now it's time to live your vision because until the next meeting, because the next meeting, the third meeting is the O and its obstacles. We'll
Mm.
tackle and we overcome that obstacles just to see what is standing on your way, which unfortunately in many cases clients stands on their own way. Like in my case as well, I only stay on my own way. People will think right away about money, about income, which of course some things that will discuss and address, but that will only happen on the meeting four, which is about knowledge, where I bring and present a financial plan that incorporates their life vision, how to accomplish that life vision. And in many cases, it's counterintuitive when they come to see me. And I mentioned that for my first three meetings, I will not discuss any numbers.
Mm.
They'll ask some questions because I'm guiding the meeting. And they're like, what do you mean you will not discuss any numbers? I will discuss because I'm a financial planner. What do you mean no numbers? They think they will come with all their statements and everything, show me their network, which of course I will collect and I will go to that and I'll do my best to optimize their finances. But at the beginning, I want to know them. Again, unless they have something urgent to address, I will address it. Of course, on the first meeting, I will address it. If they are, let's say, a young family and they never consider the risk, God forbid something happened to them, something happened to both partners or something. So we do discuss this urgent stuff. But if there is no anything urgent, we'll discuss numbers on our meeting four. And after that, the last letter is execution, where I help them to implement the plan. And it is different for every client, every individual or couple, because it all depends on complexity. It all depends on family, if they have kids, if they have businesses, if they have real estate. But this is my process in a nutshell.
I love it. And I'm a huge acronym person. So I've got different acronyms for all the different stages of my process and the frameworks that I teach too. So that makes it super easy to remember. And I love it because I'm huge on self-awareness, and all the questions kind of going through is digging that deeper, as we were talking about a minute ago, and really understanding yourself and where you're trying to go and everything. And I like that you talk about how people shouldn't wait until retirement to live their lives. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Rob. There is this saying in, again, financial industry in the retirement planning um, space, something called honeymoon effect, when someone just becomes retired. You know, when you just become retired for first 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, depending again on the situation. Retirees in that honeymoon stage, they are excited. Finally, I don't need to wake up at 9 if that was something bothering them. I don't need to be on schedule for work. So they start exploring different things. They start traveling. They sign up for some volunteering job or whatever they want to do. They finally start writing their book and everything that they were postponing and procrastinating on that. But after a certain period, they're like, what is next, what I should do next. And this honeymoon is gone now. Now they are trying new things, which is already like for many in America, 67 is average retirement age. Imagine like 67, 70. I want everyone to be healthy, especially knowing you, what you do and everything. I want everyone to pay attention to their physical health, as mental health and spiritual health is important. But then time does a job. So we are not in the same physical situation that we've been in our 30s, 40s, when we are in our 60s, late 60s or 70s. I always jokingly say that if you want to make that Italian dream trip, why you don't do it early? Because in Italy, there are no escalators on elevators, nowhere near like in United States. So you need to climb that stairs up and down to go to see your dream monument or the chapel or wherever you want to go and visit in Italy. But then why we don't try it earlier than later? And there is a tendency now in industry, something called mini retirements. People take 6 months, a year or two, and they take this retirement early to try all these different things they were yearning to do in traditional retirement age. Because in many cases, there are situations where people can afford to do that. That used to be called sabbatical for professionals, meaning professors or teachers they can take. Now they refer to sabbatical for these short-term vacations. They have the finances that can support, or they have the lifestyle that it can support to take certain time for them to reset and just to see how they want to move forward. But they just want someone that will give them the permission. And what I mean by that, with the pure place, permission meaning like for financial professional to check their numbers and like, you can take this vacation now. You don't need to wait until you are 67. Or how about you just retire 10 years earlier than that was in your mind? And that's imagine like, because like the questions, even when I'm asking, it is somehow connected to death, which no one has guarantee when it will arrive. And why we are not trying your speaking club or tennis club? Try it now just to see if you like it. Then now you will be ready when you retire. You already know you will do tennis or you will volunteer or you'll start speaking. But my goal is with life planning to shorten that period of now and when your dreams will come reality. And in many cases, we are talking about couple of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 maximum. We are not thinking of, we will have, of course, long-term plan, and we will have, of course, your investment checked and your taxes checked just to see, like, depending on what the economy will do and everything. You see now, little by little, I'm going to my left brain, but I will do that for you. But then most importantly, I want to see how you can accomplish your dreams in a shorter period as soon as possible.
Hey, what's up? Sorry for the interruption. It's Rob. One quick thing before we keep going. If you're feeling stuck or like you've lost the momentum that you used to have, here's a simple, free first step. Take the assessment at gettheprime.com. In just a few minutes, it'll show you exactly where you're leaking momentum so you can get that ball rolling again with the Prime app. It's completely free. So if you're new here, this is the best place to start. Go ahead to gettheprime.com and take the free assessment. All right, let's get back into it. Yeah, and that's super powerful. And I learned this lesson of not waiting until retirement firsthand when I watched my dad, because my dad used to always talk about like he can't wait to retire. He couldn't wait to retire, but he would work so much and he would work crazy hours, and he would do that for mostly for my sister and myself. Like he wanted to be able to be there and like create something for us. And he continued working as opposed to just retiring early. He's like, no, I could put a couple more years in. I could put more years in. And then ultimately getting sick with pancreatic cancer, and he passed away. And he had filed all of his paperwork for retirement and everything, but because he didn't make it to that first retirement check, he technically still died like on the job, and therefore wasn't entitled, like my sister or myself wasn't entitled to any of that pension that he had worked all those years for. So essentially he had worked, collected all this stuff prepared for us, and then wasn't able to provide it to us because he had passed away too early. So I took that to heart and I was like, hey, I'm not going to sit around waiting to build something. I'm going to start living the life that I want to live, doing the things I want to do now, and then build my life around the things that I want to do. And I totally believe you on that whole aspect of live your life now as opposed to living it later.
Rob, that's a powerful story, and rest in peace, your dad. And that's something that really like. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. But you experienced firsthand, and that is the part that not only by these questions, but if we remind ourselves that we are not guaranteed next breath. Breath is the most important for me. Every second we need to appreciate, and that helps me to be mindful as well when I pay attention how I'm breathing. But there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that we'll be around for how long, at what capacity when it comes to health, mental or physical. So it's important to enjoy the life. There is this thing though I want to mention. There is this abbreviation of YOLO. Yes, you only live once, and that's like another extreme when people like you only live once, so let me spend everything now. But what I'm talking about is short-term retirement or trying to spend the money while you are alive. It comes to inheritance as well. In many cases, people wait until their last day, or which is again, nobody knows when it is in many cases, but they wait and they passed away. And then after that, their inheritance goes to the next generation. They don't even see like how the next generation is enjoying that money or whatever assets that they accumulated for the next generation. Again, I'm sorry for the situation that you and your sister even experienced with this pension situation when it came to your dad. But like, again, like it is very important to remind us as every moment we are on planet Earth, it's a blessing. We appreciate it, which I'm sure like the way that I know you and everything, your father appreciated it. But then our society and the way that we grow up, it kind of embedded in us that no, there is a certain age. Until that age, you need to do your 9 to 5. There are certain professions that are not approved by society as well. Like they are not considered serious. When I remember when I was doing content creation, that was not considered serious. Like what happened to Ohan? He was 9 to 6 employee for a bank. He was a private banker, and now he's creating online, trying certain things, writing, reading, or art, which is again in society, it is not something that accepted, because there is this saying in English, yes, like the hungry, I believe, artist or hungry musician, or in many cases hungry PhD as well, which I will of course understand that part as well, that people like all are in science and everything. But these are like majority of people. This is belief of majority, and in many cases you just need to overcome these myths, that I like, yes, I can take a year or two and that's fine. Before it used to be like they will check your resume and they like, oh, what is this gap, and then you need to give an explanation for you to get hired and everything. But nowadays times change, people work from home, people change their work. If they don't like something, they just quit. It is not like in our parents' generation when someone started with a company and they stayed until the end. So this consideration of early retirement and just trying certain things, not waiting, is very like eye-opening for me as well. So I totally hear your story.
Yeah. And I love that you focus in on like the full planning as well. So it's not just like, yeah, go out, take these actions, do this now, spend the money now, but you're also taking into consideration the longer term picture. But I'm curious, so like who are the people that you help the most? Is it like, because I know you had mentioned some younger couples and people who are kind of starting out in the world. Is that who gets the most out of what you're teaching and sharing with the world?
That's another great question. And there is no simple answer to that, because in life planning community, we mentioned that everyone, literally like everyone on planet Earth, deserves a life plan for them to at least go through this experience, for them to understand what I mean by life plan, just to realize like what are their dreams and their longings and their goals they want to accomplish. And in many cases, it never happened. I don't want them to regret, like last moments, like why I never became that speaker or that writer or wrote a book and everything. But because of my experience, my background, as you mentioned, I haven't, I wasn't born in United States. I immigrated here when I was already 27 years old. So I can easily communicate with people who are also immigrants, ideally third generation immigrants, because they are more or less already in the American way of living. And what I mean by that, maybe their parents work hard and didn't get chance to understand how finance work, but versus third generation immigrants, they went to schools more or less, although we know schools don't teach necessarily financial literacy, but more or less with their friends and new neighbors, co-workers, they learn that there is something called 401k, there is something called 403b, IRA, maybe differences. So it's easy for me to talk to them when they have a little bit of a basis, and all I need to do just to guide again for them to see where they want to go, what is the deeper meaning in their life beyond money. Immigrants will be good prospect for me as a client. Also, there is an abbreviation called Henry. We talk about abbreviations today, and Henry stands for High Earner, Not Rich Yet. That's from a book like Millionaire Next Door. And Henrys are good clients for me as well, because before launching Alohana, which is, by the way, a combination of two words, Aloha and Ohana. Ohan is in the middle, but client is in the middle. Ohan has nothing to do with the name. I just wanted to have that Alohana and Ohana because I learned all this in Hawaii. But when I launched Alohana, although like right now it's a holistic financial life planning firm, my experience from private banker until now was in money coaching. So Henrys are people, in my opinion, that more or less they need this aspect of a good money coach as well, because what differentiates Henrys, and no judgment, please, but that's the way I was able to explain. Usually, like they are high income earners, professionals, but they always either had this. There is a calling called lifestyle creep, that they always upgrade their cars, their houses, larger houses. And on top of that, they have a student loan because they got some great professions like doctor or an attorney. So these will be great clients to have conversations for them just to stop for a moment, you know. I started the blog Aloana Moment, which was mainly I started for me just to reflect on myself. But I want my clients to reflect as well, not necessarily read what I write, because if they find the value, they will. But for them to stop for a moment and they think like, what I want to accomplish in my life. And there is this saying which came from my friend who is again on this industry, and I consider him my mentor as well. He calls it midlife awakening instead of midlife crisis. He
Hmm.
switched to midlife awakening. And when I did a little bit research, it comes from the time of Carl Jung, when he says that until 40, it is just an experience. You start living when you are in your 40s. And I want this, uh, again, just sake of better word, Henry, high earners, not rich yet people, to come to that awakening that I can, I can do certain things that I don't need to stress anymore. Because many of these people, they are in very stressful jobs. They can be an ER doctor. They can be an attorney who doesn't have weekends for their kids or their wife or their parents, family, neighbors, or whatever is that. And they are just working from 9 to 6, including in many cases weekends. And then at the retirement age, they are realizing like life just passed by. I didn't see like my daughter or my son for their practice or for their school or for their performance. So these are ideal clients for me as well. And couples in general, just for myself being, still I consider myself newlywed, although I got married 5 years ago and I have a daughter now. But couples are another perspective. I don't even want to use the word client, but I don't know what else to use right now. Future like business wise partners that I can work with, because I understand their world. Again, as I mentioned, I have a daughter who is young. So these are three, like first generation immigrants, high earners, and then couples. Or sometimes it can be combination of all three. They can be everything at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned the newsletter too. So how do people who's listening to this subscribe to your newsletter so they can stay up to date and continue to reflect on a weekly basis for themselves? And or if they're interested in reaching out and contacting you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way is alohanafinancial.com, which is my website. Again, Alohana is combination of Aloha and Ohana. Aloha is a hello, but in the meantime, it means peace. It means even like on seven stages. Again, we talk about this book a lot today, but George Kinder explains is the way of like stage of your life that you accomplish to the moment that you can give without expecting anything back. That was the main reason of choosing Aloha. And Ohana is a family that no one left behind. So that is the meaning of the word Alohana. Otherwise, people confuse. They're like, "Oh, you are from Hawaii," which I'm not. But I love
Yeah.
Hawaii. I love Hawaiian culture and everything. So all these long explanation, alohanafinancial.com is the website where they can find the blog. Also, I publish it on my LinkedIn, which is easy to find as long as they spell my name right. There is nobody with Ohan Kayikchyan name. And also, like I publish on Substack as well, if anyone nowadays using Substack. Again, this is the beginning stage, and I don't know where all this is going, but I'm here for the long run. And I want to mention again, give a try to read the Alohana moments. But in the meantime, I wrote it for myself because I'm exploring certain topics that they are interesting to me. Again, English not being my first language, I'm doing my best with my simple English to explain some concepts that in many cases I read and I like, this is very like hard. This is um, word salad, or these words I want to. So I'm trying to explain it in simple English. And in every moment, I have a sentence that I challenge the readers to stop and to reflect on it. So in general, try to find your Aloha moments while you are driving, you are doing something, and that will help you to be present. It will help you to be more mindful instead of just always thinking about past that is already gone and future that is not here yet.
Yeah. Well, Ohan, I think you appreciate you coming on today and sharing a whole lot about the process that you're helping so many people with, and just even the story about yourself and how you kind of got into where you're currently at. So I love always connecting with you, catching up with you. We've been friends now for almost 3 years, I think, which is crazy to think about how time flies. So that's pretty awesome. So thank you again for coming on.
Very much. And time does fly, man. Like that's in a sense good thing that it means you are happy and that's flying because there are some boring situations. And I love even in many cases to be by myself with my writings, with my readings, or just to be in the nature and everything. And time I don't necessarily want to use that time flies for people not to think they don't have enough time. But it indeed, like I look back and I've been in United States now for 16 years. It seems like yesterday. That's another way of reminding us that time to live our lives is now. And it's always a pleasure, Rob, to talk to you outside of podcast as well. I always enjoy and thank you for having me here today.
Of course, man. Of course. Until next time, guys. Peace, 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 peace. All right, sweet. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If this conversation gave you something that you can use, would you do me a favor and follow the show? And then please leave a quick rating and review wherever you listen. It genuinely helps more entrepreneurs find these stories, and it helps spread the word of our guests. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, do us both a favor and share the episode their way. You can connect with me and find everything that we mentioned over at survivingthesidehustle.com. Until next time, remember, pay attention to what works for you and then do more of that. That's how you stop spinning and start winning.